Hello everybody.
Hi.
My name is Darren.
I'm Graham.
And I have seen Rambo First Blood, the first one, not any of the other rubbish ones. Have you seen Rambo First Blood?
First Blood, no.
Okay, I'll tell you the story.
Please do.
A guy walks through a village or a little town in America, and he's really hungry because he's Stallone and, steroids need protein.
Yeah.
And he wants a sandwich, and the policeman's like, "We don't like your kind in our village," which I presume he means mentally disabled. And so he takes him out of the town. And Rambo's like, "But I really wanted a sandwich." So he goes back to the town. The sheriff's like, "Look, I just told you, go to prison."
Yeah.
So he takes him to prison. Rambo's like, "I don't like this prison, there's no sandwiches." So he kills everyone and escapes. And then he escapes to the woods, and the police are like, "Well, we best get him out of the woods. We've arrested him for being in our town, so we best bring him back to our town." And unlike Rambo, the police are not sort of equipped to survive the jungle.
Right.
The jungles of small town America.
Yes, of course there is that.
So that's the story, really.
Excellent.
Yes. It's very good.
Oh.
I very much enjoyed it.
Let me begin by saying I've heard of the Rambo franchise.
Well, you've seen Rambo 4.
I've seen Rambo 4.
We watched that together.
I've heard of... And I'm not overly impressed from what I've heard.
No, Rambo 4 was bloody awful.
Rambo 4 was offensive to every sense.
Rambo 4 was clearly written by somebody that looks as disabled as Stallone. That is as disabled as Stallone looks.
You have to stop with the anti-disability.
No, that's fine, because it was written by Stallone. So they would... Whether he looks disabled or not.
Yeah. But...
I'm allowed to say disabled.
Yeah, you're allowed. I'm just saying, move away from it.
You can't with Stallone, though.
No, that's true. That's true.
I feel bad making fun of Stallone's face because... I mean, obviously he's had work done on it. But, his stupid voice and his, weird mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
That's because when he was a baby, they had to, drag him out and they, hurt him a bit.
Forceps, scraped his face.
Yeah, so I feel bad because that's an actual disability that he's got. And to be fair, he did have to be dragged out of Jackie Stallone's, rancid vagina, which is enough to cause anybody to look like that, I think. It's essentially... That, being born by Jackie Stallone is a bigger task than Boba Fett crawling his way out the Sarlacc pit. So fair play to Stallone for even being alive.
He earned life.
He did. He really did. There was a little parade, he was the chosen one when he was born.
And everything. Yeah.
No offense, Jackie Stallone. She's a horrible looking woman.
Oh,
come on! She reads people's bums for a living. She looks like something. She looks like something that might fall out of Mickey Rourke's anus. And when he was about 62, she was walking around claiming to be about 59.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know much about her, but the fact that she reads people's bums for a living makes me think she's probably an idiot or a liar, one or the other.
Oh, well, she gets everything she deserves then, doesn't she? Or deserves everything she gets. Carry on,
Nothing
anyway.
to do with her. Anyway.
So I was saying that the Rambo films I've heard are not very good, but
the first one's good.
But you've been telling me that the first one is the exception.
Yeah, well, all I've seen is Rambo 4 and now Rambo 1 and clips of Rambo 2 and 3. I've seen the bit in the second one where he starts in a lake and he jumps up out the lake like fucking Flipper and lands in a helicopter.
Yeah.
And I've seen the bit in Rambo 3 where he sets fire to his insides because he's trying to cauterize the wound.
Right.
Just goes straight through. That bit looked pretty cool, to be fair. But the whole film is still rubbish from what else I have seen and heard and whatnot.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rambo 1 was really good. And it was really good for two reasons. Firstly, the stunts and action were amazing. You can tell it was a real person, usually Stallone, doing stuff. And, driving things and whatnot. And secondly, it's good because it's actually about something. It's got context opposed to Rambo 4. Subtext, sorry. Well, it's in context. Rambo 4, which is obviously just Stallone trying to sort of pull his career and show, I don't think he'd done many. I don't think he'd done many movies. Then he did Rocky Balboa and then Rambo. He suddenly panicked and brought back the two. I don't know which way round it was, though. Either way, it was clearly through desperation.
Yes.
Because Rambo 4 was one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Yes.
Anyway, so Rambo 1 is about the traumas of war, that whole thing. So it's just really good. It's about a guy who's... I don't really like the Rocky movies, but I buy him as Rocky because he looks like a man who's spent his career being punched in the head. And I buy him as Rambo in that one, the first one, because he looks like a person who's done some terrible things and probably didn't know why he was doing them at the time. Yeah, he's perfect for Black Ops missions and stuff because he'll just do as he's told and not know what the hell is going on, but he knows he's been broken down. It didn't take long to break him down to build him back up again.
Yes.
So yeah, So it's just really good. I don't know what else to say really. It had a good story, it had good action, and Stallone was pretty good in it for what he had to do. Oh, it should have ended. I mean, this isn't a spoiler because obviously there's sequels. It should have ended with Rambo shooting himself in the head because he goes on this rampage like people in real life occasionally do. And let's face it, most people on a rampage do end by shooting themselves in the head. It's tradition.
It is
And the film ends with him kind of, having been sort of monosyllabic and not saying much because he's Stallone for about an hour and a half. It ends with him suddenly ranting about the horrors of war. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't have a clue what he was saying, but it sounded terrible. And I just thought, like, this is the kind of emotional rant that definitely ends with somebody putting a gun in their mouth. And he just didn't. And if he had, A, it would have made sense to the film and the character, and B, we wouldn't have had any of the rubbish sequels. So it wouldn't, like, when you think of Rambo now, you think of stupid action movies. But the first one's not a stupid action movie, it's a really good film, so its sequels have diminished its own reputation. And if he just committed suicide like he should, then it would have been a good film. It would have been Rambo would have been remembered fondly as opposed to as the good one of the shit franchise.
The phrase Rambo, like, would have meant something completely different now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
as you say, like, if you say to Rambo, it's kind of mindlessly just going in and wading in and destroying,
well,
everything.
That's kind of what he does. But when you say it now, it's like mindless, stupid violence.
It is dumb.
Yeah. Whereas Rambo First Blood is a bit like a cross between, the action adrenaline of Die Hard, but mixed with the Christopher Walken character from The Deer Hunter, where he just keeps playing Russian roulette in the vain hope that he'll kill himself. So it was really good, and considering it just escalated. A bloke walks into a town wanting a sandwich, and every time something goes wrong, it's because they wouldn't give him a sandwich, and people are just dying left, right, and centre because he wouldn't get a sandwich. I thought that it would have been hilarious if the credits had come up saying sponsored by Subway, which would have been the greatest joke in any movie ever. But sadly, they didn't get on board on that one.
No.
Well, a missed opportunity. Anyway, so Rambo First Blood's really good. What else can I say?
I'm going to have to see it then, aren't I?
Yeah. Unlike the Rocky movies, it doesn't have endless montages in.
Right.
Which is always a pro. If you watch Rocky 1, 2 and 3, just every so often there's a fucking montage. A montage of running up the steps, a montage of doing some training, a montage of all the fights he's had until we get to the current one. And then you get to Rocky 4. When there's so many montages, it starts to do montages, the previous 3 films worth of montages. It starts cutting back to the other montages. You think, Jesus Christ. This is like, I don't know, having 3 TVs on, playing all 3 movies whilst you're having an epileptic fit. That's what Rocky 4's like. Rambo First Blood, however, is very good, I thought.
Good. So you've seen 1 and 4?
Yeah, and bits of 2 and 3.
Right.
2 was written by James Cameron.
Oh, right, really? So what actually happens to get... Because, I mean, I've seen 4, I hated it, but you've seen 1 and loved it. So how does his life kind of pan out in between those films to get him where he was in that 4th one?
Well, in the 4th one, he's just living in the jungle, isn't he?
And
I think that in the other 2, he just kind of gets brought back to help. There's some people that need some help. Rambo can help.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
I think, like I say, I haven't actually seen them. I mean, I've seen 4, but from what I read of the plot synopsis, and from what I have seen of the 2nd and 3rd one. So, yeah.
Oh, well.
It's kind of like Mad Max to a degree, in that by the 3rd one, Mel Gibson was clearly famous, so wanted to up his dialogue and stuff like that, or somebody wanted to up his dialogue, and the best thing about Mad Max is the fact that he doesn't speak, really. Obviously, like, Stallone was getting more and more famous, so I think Rambo becomes more and more of the focus of the film and the hero, as opposed to just a broken down character at the centre of this giant sort of film that's ultimately a message of the horror of war.
Yeah.
Just became, let's have another Stallone action film.
Right.
I guess that's the difference, is that from ones we've seen, Rambo 4 is, the message of that movie is how can we have Stallone kill people in an entertaining way, whereas the first one, the agenda isn't war horrible. It's not exactly an original message, but it's better than the one of Rambo 4. So yeah, that's that. That's all I've got to say on the subject.
Right, apparently so. Just out of curiosity,
Go on.
What kind of method is better for showing how horrible war is? Or which film has most kind of persuaded you?
The war is horrible.
Yes.
Green Beret with John Wayne.
Right.
That's a joke because that's the only pro-Vietnam movie.
Right.
What? Essentially, you ask me what's the most anti-war film that I've seen.
One that's the most effective, not the most anti-war.
I don't know, because most of the good ones aren't really realistic. There's Christopher Walken's Russian roulette thing in Deer Hunter, but there's no recorded evidence of the Vietnamese or Viet Cong making American soldiers play Russian roulette.
Right.
If anything, it's the other way around.
Real.
Obviously, Apocalypse Now is just a kind of Vietnam adaptation of Hearts of Darkness. There isn't really about Vietnam, but it's kind of about the horrors of war and ends up with a fat Jabba the Hutt Marlon Brando. I mean, it shows Martin's descent into madness, but that's not really the experience every other soldier went through there, or, you know, in a boat on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Platoon's good, by Oliver Stone, who was in Vietnam, and say by the same person, Born on the 4th of July, is about what happens when you come back from Vietnam and you're not very appreciated, which is also by Oliver Stone. So that's you know, good. I don't know, most war movies are anti-war movies, so if you watch
stuff like that,
Saving Private Ryan's all right, and I mean, obviously it's like supposedly a realistic depiction of what D-Day was and stuff like that. I think if you just watch war movies, you get the general vibe that this isn't fun.
Well, I was considering as well. What's the
Rescue Dawn? Are you thinking?
No. The one when the sequels just come out. Come on, Sound of Silence and.
That's not really about a war. The Act of Killing, the documentary. That's about a purge that happened in 1960 something.
Yeah.
So that's not so much about the war. That's when the baddies had already won and just decided to kill everyone.
So to have fun afterwards.
Yeah.
The after party.
Well, yeah. So yeah.
Oh well.
I think it's the general consensus is that war isn't fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Rambo delivers that message as well.
One does.
Yes.
Rambo 4 kind of highlights. Although there is an interesting point. Oh, this isn't funny and it's getting on, but whatever. I read the book that Jarhead's based on. Jarhead, it's called.
Oh, right. Really?
By Anthony Swafford, or Swarford, whatever. And that's autobiographical, you know, it's just him writing his experiences. Mm-hmm. And obviously all these movies like Apocalypse Now and Platoon and blah, blah, blah are written to be anti-war. You know, they show the horrors of it. But they always... What's the problem?
Camera?
I'm
staring at your books.
I'm in my own world. I'm not seeing what my eyes are seeing.
Okay, carry on.
So they're obviously written with an anti-war message, but they still contain heroic images of, you know, people with their hands in the air and blah blah blah. And I think it's in the film Jarhead as well. Even though they're written to be anti-war, the people that often go to war watch them to hype themselves up. So kind of because they see the poetic imagery of, you know, heroic acts of valor and stuff like that. So I guess it takes all sorts.
That is it. Well, yeah, I guess it does. Yeah.
So even though they're anti-war, by glorifying it, they're kind of encouraging people to join.
Well, yeah. Well, what was that film that we saw? And like, I think it was a war film.
Was it Lenny Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will?
I don't think so.
That blockbuster we saw. Who would have thought that would encourage people to join the war?
I can't remember what it was, but it came out saying like that looked like a lot of fun sort of thing. You know, like no, it was a lot of death and stuff.
I don't know. Hunger Games?
But some films do kind of, you know, make things look a bit more.
Well,
it's Fury, in fact.
You thought Fury was.
It looked like
same
fun
again,
because you
like
got camaraderie
it
and stuff like that.
Turns them into heroes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, but
so
I didn't think that the bit where I think somebody was scraping up their friend's eye didn't look a bit of face didn't make me think like that looks like a little fun.
Yeah, the piece of his that was horrible.
You just want to be in war so you can see Brad Pitt's topless body, don't you?
I'm thinking about it now, so
yeah. Anyway, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.